The views expressed in the following podcasts are intended to make our listeners more resilient and better prepare them for life after post-secondary education. They do not reflect the views of our employers, spouses, friends, or our old high school teachers whose work with us has been greatly appreciated. Except Father Hutchinson. That slideshow about fence posts you made us watch was so boring, I literally attempted to light the ends of my hair on fire. But in my defense, who put scented candles on students' desk? God, what a weirdo. Your mileage may vary. Welcome to Two and Change, a Canadian podcast with a 2-drink minimum. The people are real, the drinking is real, and the opinions, unfortunately, are also real.
On today's show, we discuss the terrorist attack in New Zealand and how that country rallied together to respond.
You give $10 million to the horses, cuts education, says things about going ahead and going to make kids resilient by making them 40 in a class, going ahead.
Josh, your line was, but first we discussed the recent changes Doug Ford has made to the educational system?
That's what I said. He made changes, quote unquote, to the education system. Going to go ahead and lay off teachers. And
going through it. Mike, did you want to take...
I don't really know what to do here.
We're going to lose frontline thing. Yeah, frontline. That's fucking fun. What do you even
You okay, Josh?
Frontline? What? Yeah, just start the show.
Are you sure? Because you seem a little...
I said start the show.
You'd better hit the button.
Yeah.
Welcome to and Change. I am Josh, and I am drinking a Mill Street Organic. It is getting older, so it's getting a little skunky, but hey, it's it still does the job, and it tastes okay. So on the mediocre scale, I'm gonna give it a mediocre.
And I'm drinking. It's not my favorite drink. It's the J.P. Weiser 18-year-old. It's a nice whiskey. It's you're out of Scotch, so this is like the next best thing, I suppose. It's okay. It's good. I'm enjoying it.
I love Forrig. I still have that.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably would have taken that instead of this. Like maybe after the break, I'll do that. But
okay, yeah, fair. And this is Tim. By the way, that was Mike. He didn't choose to introduce himself this time, but that's okay.
Everybody knows who I am.
Yeah, fair. All the ladies do.
I don't think you're omnipresent. I don't think that's...
Is that not one of my attributes?
Yeah.
Huh.
Anyway, this is Tim. I'm drinking Canadian Club 12-year with a splash of club soda, kicking it old school.
There you go. And welcome everybody once again to Two and Change, the show that has basically 3 Canadian drinking buddies sitting around 3 microphones with 3 different beverages sometimes, talking about stuff that, mattered to us this week, I suppose. We've got the centrist, the socialist, and the libertarian all getting together. And usually we end the night as friends. Usually. Sometimes. Depends on how wrong we all are.
My car is mysteriously keyed.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, wasn't me, I promise.
It said socialist right on it. And then die commie bastard on the side. That wasn't me.
Wasn't me. I don't know.
I got it. I have enemies. It's fine.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, that's good if you have enemies. It means you stood up for something once. Then again, Hitler had enemies.
I was about to say.
Yeah. And wait, there's the rule about Hitler. He comes up at some point in conversation.
It's called Godwin's
law. Yeah.
Godwin's law.
It's always nice
the
to know
longer a conversation goes on, the more
Yeah.
likely Hitler will show up.
There you go. And we've made it what, 3 minutes into the podcast, and we've met Godwin's law. It's great.
Speaking of Hitler, that seems like a natural transition to our current topic, which is
oh god, Doug Ford is not Hitler.
No, I'm not comparing him to Hitler. It was just funny.
He's just an asshole.
So yes,
he wish he had Hitler's charisma.
Oh, there you go.
So our topic is Doug Ford in general, because we couldn't pick one of the 17 dumbass things that the Premier of Ontario has put forward in the last couple of weeks.
And his cabinet.
His
dangerous. Like, these people make Trump's cabinet look qualified. Holy shit.
Some of them. And some of them, the worst part is, there are some of them that are legitimately qualified that are saying the dumbest of things ever.
Well,
Maybe they weren't that qualified.
No. They're just being forced to try to coherently defend something that's more or less not defensible.
Indefensible.
Yeah. So, I heard at least a part of the interview that CBC did with what's-her-face, the education minister.
Lisa McLeod.
That's right. Where she basically talked about how what they're doing by increasing class sizes in order to make kids more resilient. And the CBC guy, who was ruthless, by the way, just kept on being like, so how does this benefit kids? So how does this benefit kids? And she kept on dodging the question because that's the only politically adept thing to do there, because the only correct answer to that actual direct question is it's not good for kids. Like
Yeah, no
we're
kidding.
doing this because money. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, so we cut taxes so we have room to fire. It's like, and he didn't campaign on, we're not going to fire in. We're just going to, it's like a whole, like his brother.
No frontline workers is what the truth.
Like a teacher.
But here's the thing. So here's the
Teachers
thing.
are going to be fired. Have you actually looked at and they're talking about 28 as the average.
Toronto
class
School Board
size.
said something like
It could be as high
1,000
as-
people had to be.
Well, think about it this
laid
way.
off.
They're not saying every class. This is where I love stats, right?
Yeah.
This is why they always throw out average. Because you look at the actual median.
Yes.
It's a shit ton worse.
Yeah, I mean,
if we all went
35,
off
I
of
think.
average income, we'd all have 6-figure salaries right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
The thing is that
You have to
if
look
they
at median.
Yeah, that's right. So we got to look at it as like they have classrooms with like 5 or 6 kids with special needs. Like
Yep.
I've a very good friend of mine's wife. I guess she's my friend by osmosis, I suppose.
Yep.
Anyway, she works with special needs kids, and she has, a class of 6-7 kids rotates around.
Yep.
So you got to factor that in, right?
Yep.
So when they're averaging out, they got to average against the small classes.
Yep.
So it's going to get really fucky for a lot of kids.
Well, and
So for those who have not studied statistics, there's mean and median. Mean is what you would understand as average. Add them all up and divide by the number of entries, whereas median is more like look at what all the numbers are and pick the one that's in the middle.
yeah.
For those of you who have now woken back up out of your slumber, we were talking about math, so ignore it.
Sorry, we went into math mode.
We did.
Anyways.
Sorry, I think I should sign off.
Yeah. No.
Did you want to co-sign?
What?
You wanted to sign off?
sign.
Did you want to co-sign?
You went on a bit of a tangent.
He did
there.
want a bit of a tangent. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
And thank you so much for joining us at 2 and Change. We will
Yeah.
see you next week.
We did a full circle there.
We did.
360 degrees.
More like circle jerk.
He's
Jesus.
still punning. You're still punning. You still
you like the arc of that joke?
Yeah, I did. I love the art. Yeah.
You like the angle I took?
The angle. Well, it was.
I'm
going
going
to
to throw a pie at you.
It was the right angle that you took. Well, we just had Pi Day.
Yes, we did.
We did have Pi Day.
How'd you all celebrate Pi Day?
I brought I literally went and bought a pie and brought it to my wife's work.
Nice. And you?
I watched a YouTube video from Vihart about Pi Day. Yep.
I had cherry pie.
A cherry pie. There
That's
you
the
go.
kind of pie.
Then my wife and I went to dinner.
There.
Hey-oh!
Hey-oh!
No. We went to Archie's. It was very lovely.
I like Archie's. I
So,
know this is not. This is a local. That's a very local reference. But I like Archie's.
One of my more favorite YouTubers is someone named Vihart. It's Vihart. She basically is like this math instructional who does this amazing work with math videos. Every Pi Day, she puts out a video that essentially says, I hate pi. Pi is a terrible number. We should use tau instead, which is like a 1.68. It's another one of the irrational numbers.
Yeah. Well, speaking of
Dumb fuckery things around math.
Well, you know what? Kids should just watch that because that's how they get their math education. See? Full circle.
There.
Yeah,
Full circle. And here we are,
exactly.
coming
So
back
one
to
of the things the Premier of Ontario, Doug McFord Dummyface,
I
is
just call him Maple Trump.
Maple Trump definitely works. It's
Juice
accurate.
Scoops.
Yeah. Anyways, one of the many things that he wants to do is change math and how it's taught because
Pi is
They
too
already
hard.
did.
It
They
should
already
be
did.
3.
No, they already did. I was looking at I'm tutoring a young girl who's a friend of our family in math. She brings it home and there's
She's 25, Mike. We know what you're doing.
an 11-year-old girl is having difficulty with her math, and when she brought her math homework back to our place, and I'm looking at it with her, and I'm going, I don't understand what's going on here.
Oh,
Like,
Jesus Christ. Is this another rant about Common Core? We've talked about this.
I don't care. Like, she brought.
I don't care that you don't care.
Look, I'm not allowed to use circles to explain fractions. And when I
Yes.
called the teacher and said, why can't I use circles? She goes, well, because you can't do 1/7. I'm like, so I'm doing hexagon shapes instead? How the blazes do you do 1/7 with
It's
hexagons?
all about learning. So the reason why we don't continue on in math and later in life, because math got fucking hard, we're basically we used to do the equivalent in math of trying to memorize the shape of words and calling it a word instead of learning fucking phonics.
Sure.
Yeah, learning phonics is slower if you didn't fucking learn how to read.
So here's-
but guess what? This is how you fucking learn how to read.
But
It's the most effective system of learning how to read. You understand the theory behind it. It makes you less likely to burn out math later in life.
Math is
Rant
not.
over.
Math is not
Out,
reading.
Seacrest.
Math is not
Yes,
reading.
it is. It's interpreting a language.
Math is a language.
Okay, fine, but that doesn't mean that you read it like you would a language.
Actually, yeah, you
it
do.
doesn't
Yeah.
involve letters and words. It involves concepts, mathematical constructs inside
Exactly,
your mind.
and they're teaching you the constructs. They're not teaching you P and H makes a sound as opposed to like This word is phone. Memorize that.
Yep.
This is the difference.
But learning it procedurally is not necessarily wrong. What I've been told, I was told this by this math teacher, that in the new math, it does not matter so much that you get the right answer as much as you know what you're doing. And I said to her, if you don't get the right answer, then you didn't know what you were doing. Because it's
So here's the thing. One, I have to try to teach all of my kids math in French, which adds a whole nother layer of complications.
I bet.
The numbers are the same.
I will have to type in Google and going, I'm not sure of this word, and like because mathematical.
Le five.
No, it's more like words for like angle or like summarize or factor and stuff.
Anglais?
Yeah.
No, that's English.
Anyways, so that sometimes makes it a little more complicated. You're Googling like how to
What is the
translate
French
stuff.
word for angle?
I'm sure someone will tell us. Hey, Dad, if you're listening, message us. Let us know.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on it as soon as you ask me, and I'm like,
Right, yeah, put you on the spot.
Yeah, right. Anyways, but no, I have some issues with Common Core, but the overall arc of it is, we definitely don't need to go back to a rote memory of math. It's a terrible way of going about math because once you get to a certain level, it becomes a unuseful.
But hold
tool.
up, some rote memory is necessary as a foundation.
Why?
You
Not
need
necessarily.
you need to know your times tables.
Why?
You need to be able to tell me what's
Why?
3 times 4, 12, done. Like I don't want to see a kid counting that.
How
on
often is that? How often is that? Do you use that?
every day?
Yes,
Now
but
let me
but
ask you
tell
something. Do you have a computer in your
Yes,
pocket
but-
more powerful than what sent people to the moon?
Yes,
Sure.
So here's the
So why the fuck do you need to worry about that?
Times tables are my son understands.
Nah.
So
Yeah.
here's the thing that I really like about how my son works. My son understands the concept of multiplication.
Sure.
He doesn't really have a rote memory of he's super fast at it, but it's not necessarily has a rote memory of multiplication. He understands the concept of it, and that's more important to me because.
So don't just
things
memorize
like the
3 times 4. Learn how to count by
Yeah, because
fours.
quite honestly,
Yeah.
I don't care if
Understand that 3 4s equals 12.
Right, yeah.
Instead of 3 times 4 equals 12.
Sure.
That is a different
Yes.
concept. And just because we're smart enough to know that doesn't mean every kid is.
And here's my thing. I actually don't think the problem with the core math or whatever the hell you want to call it is it's not that the concept is wrong. The problem is it doesn't go far enough. It's too watered down. I actually really
it
think
was watered down by fucking parents going, I don't like
you want a rote
this.
memory. Honestly, I don't give if a third grader knows how to do times tables at all. I want them to be able to tell
Yeah,
me what the
fuck
transitive
it.
property and commutative property is. I want them to be able to manipulate numbers fundamentally like it's an actual language to them. So when they're getting into things trying to calculate advanced functions and trying to create arcs and stuff in a 3D environment in these crazy things, they can just do that stuff that's really hard. The stuff about moving numbers and manipulating numbers around is a very natural process.
I will-
smacking into everything.
I
today, aren't we?
will concede to you that in my own experience, when I hit high school, once I got into factoring and quadratics, I hit a wall, and it was probably because
That is why.
and it was probably because of the rote memory emphasis that I.
But you
experienced
do
growing
know
up.
3 times 4.
I do. And I know like my 12 all the way up to 12 times 12 we had to memorize that, but that doesn't mean that we weren't taught that this is 3 of 4, because I remember learning it that way. I remember learning that and then being told, and so now you just simply, now that you know what the concept is, memorize what these are.
But not everyone thinks the same way you and I think.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, because the way we're teaching math was leaving way too many kids in the dust.
And I'm seeing now, like, I mean, in one of our friends who's an EA, which, by the way, makes this extremely relevant to the conversation we're having this evening about education, because holy
Doug Ford.
shit. But I mean, in one of her classes that she's working in, there are 17 kids on an IEP. But then we're like, oh, but we're not leaving any kids behind. Yes,
Sorry,
you are.
IEP.
Individual education plan. So basically means that they can't do the regular curriculum, because if they did, they would fall behind. But now we're like, oh, look, we're not leaving any kids behind. No, you just put half the class on an IEP instead. So
I
that
think
way,
it should
that way
be
you can
100% IEP, but I live in a utopian society. What can I say?
Okay, fair enough. But the problem is IEP is kind of, it's code for these kids can't get it, so we're going to give them something easier. That's
not necessarily.
Not always.
Because
Not always.
it
Usually,
depends,
though.
No, because it depends on.
Or maybe they're so smart that they need.
There is a test for that.
So
we do have a test for gifted students.
It's
as
funny.
well.
So when I was in grade, I think I want to say grade 4.
Yep.
We're kind of bouncing around a lot, so I kind of went to a couple different schools.
Yep.
And they actually put me in a learning assistance program. Yeah, funnily enough, they put me in like the the group of kids that get the extra milk and pudding at around 10 o'clock.
So
they put
back
me
in
with those
the
kids.
60s, they called that slow class.
Yeah, so they put me in that.
They put you in
class
slow class, yeah,
because I was having trouble.
Yep.
It turns out I was just fucking bored.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had the
They
same
said
problem.
I had the problem too.
Yeah, they put me in the class like 2 days and they're like, no, we're sending you back with a note.
Yeah.
So I mean, that happens.
Sure.
And I think that it...
But we now have a process where we can, because there's this idea that there's this bell curve, that most people are supposed to be in this range, and there are people who are on the low side who need help to kind of catch up. There's also people who are way far ahead of it who will also stagnate if you leave them in the standard curriculum.
Here's the problem with most of the curriculum nowadays, and I think it really needs, a lot of the conservatives and stuff out there need to move up to the level of thinking that I'm at.
All hail Josh. Let Josh rule.
No, I think and I agree with Tim, every kid should be on an IEP because levels of learning is different at different paces. It's not this, you're in this one curve or in this other curve. You may be at a level 9, a level 10 grade mathematics level, and you're still working on second grade reading, but you're in third grade.
Trying to decide what side of the room smells better
right?
at that age.
So yeah, as long as you're not fundamentally falling too far behind in one of the areas, that's fine. Excel all the way. If a fourth grader wants to work on, third university level calculus, go on and let them. Like, how are we going to get to the level nationally, internationally?
So as long as you want every kid to have their own IEP, instead, let me give you a more realistic idea of what we could do. What color did you want your unicorn to be?
Oh, my unicorn.
Okay, look, I think what you're getting at is that we can't get there by funding. This costs money.
Throw billions of dollars, but you're still not going to achieve an IEP for every student. That's ridiculous.
I think you can.
No.
I think you can.
I don't. Next to healthcare,
with that,
I don't see
we're going to end with that. We have to take a quick break here. When we come back, we have our weekly WTF coming up, and then we're going to talk about the goings on in New Zealand and that. Oh man, just contrasting that with the response.
Killing people, right wingers.
Yeah. Well, it's like
Stop
contrasting
killing people. Just fear it.
Did you notice that the U.S. media was all like, "But are the guns okay?" Anyway, we'll be right back.
We'll be back.
Monotone voice, thank you for listening. I hope you're enjoying the show.
In agreement, that sounds scripted. Mike, did you script this gesture to make...
You guys aren't supposed to read the stage directions?
With a concerned tone I don't understand.
Check out twoandchange.ca so you can read the blog and see what I have to put up with. Guys!
Oh, I lost my place in the script.
And welcome back from that break. Hey guys, do you know what time it is?
Tool time.
Ha! Goddamn, it's weekly. What the? All right, everyone, you know how this works. We here at Two and Change round up the weirdest, wackiest, and wildest news that we can find for you, the listener, so you don't have to. It's our way of giving back to the community. Well, starting off, in a move that the judge described as more stupid than it was criminal, last October, two Halifax brothers attempted to drive an unregistered 1967 Buick Skylark to Mexico non-stop. Now, they loaded up the car with gas containers and planned to drive around the U.S. border checkpoints using back roads. You can see where this is going, and apparently they wound up at a border checkpoint anyway and were immediately detained. Picture that, an unregistered vehicle loaded with explosives going into the U.S. for reasons.
What did they think was going to happen?
They were recently released from prison, presumably to resume their life at Sunnyvale Trailer Park with Bubbles, and no drugs were not involved.
Just really, really, really sad people.
You know, we talk about the education system.
I'm not sure, but I'm pretty certain weed was involved in this decision.
Could have been.
So, speaking of weed, who else but Florida Man?
Oh,
my
yeah.
favorite person ever. Last week, Florida Man stole $33,000 in rare coins. That's a lot of coinage.
That's a lot of coinage.
And redeemed them at Coinstar for $30. Shane Anthony Mell of Riviera Beach was arrested and confessed he stole the coins, among other items. Apparently, he just needed enough for a few 12 packs of beer, or condoms, or cigarettes.
A few 12 packs of beer? Hang on, $30? How many 12 packs can you buy for $30 in the States?
Oh, like
3?
30.
Holy shit!
I don't know. It's ridiculous.
Probably like
down there.
3, 2 or 3.
That's incredible. Yeah. And finally, Noah might have had a rainbow, but Nebraska might have him beat with a beer fridge. Nebraska, along with a good chunk of the Midwestern U.S., stay dry, our listeners down there, has been going through some pretty heavy flooding. Two men were out surveying the flood damage when when they came across a fridge full of ice-cold beer. Unfortunately, the beer was Busch Light and Bud Light, so there's no telling if the floodwater flooded the fridge.
Heyo.
Heyo.
Because the beer sucks, right?
Yeah. I see what you did there.
You see what I did there?
I did, yeah.
Although I'm a little worried that if they're floating around like in a boat and there's a...
No, there was just like, it was on dry land. They just sort of, they just found like a... Anyway, that's it for Weekly What the F this week. If you are enjoying it, please feel free to send us a headline.
Or 2, or 3, or 6.
toandchange.ca on Facebook or Twitter anyway.
Especially if you know anything about Florida Man. I love the stories from Gators and Guns.
This guy, yeah, he is so impressive. How is he not dead from all of his exploits yet?
Florida Man is a fucking legend.
Is there such a thing as Florida Woman? Does Florida Woman exist?
Yes, and Florida Student.
Really?
Florida Senior. Oh, they all exist.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Our second half of the show, we're talking about a bit of a more serious note. We can't let this go by. We have to talk about the New Zealand shooting that happened. One thing that I can tell you off the top is that I did listen to the Prime Minister's speech in the House of whatever it is, House of Commons, I guess is what, something like that.
It's the same system.
The equivalent. Yeah.
Except they talk like this.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't.
What the hell was that?
Where she was talking and she was basically explaining she was explaining how she doesn't want to give him any recognition, not even a name. She
Bravo.
doesn't. Yeah,
Bravo.
And you know what?
That wasn't for her. That was for you for the accent.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I also
and for her.
And for her. Yeah, but you know what?
If you're listening, Prime Minister of New Zealand,
yeah,
you're getting the 2 and change bump
there
right
you go.
now.
Exactly. That's what it is. You know
but
what?
This is. It's so surprising that not surprising. It's sad that, of course, I mean, we don't live in the U.S.
We don't.
But we contrast, it's like, this is what a leader should fucking do. Well, there's a hole in the law. You fix the fucking hole. You sympathize with the victims. Like, you do it's called being a fucking person.
Hold on. What I can tell you is that I found that they're very quick jump to action and banning a certain type of gun when a handgun, for example, is just as deadly. Wasn't necessary.
It's not.
Well, you can get semi-automatic pistols. Come on, they exist.
They banned those.
But okay, but I mean, I'm talking about like
they banned those.
But I mean,
and you just think a handgun, and you say a handgun's just as deadly. It is not.
A 9mm coming out of a handgun. Let's say you get.
I would much rather be shot with a 9mm than with a 5.56 or 7.62.
Let's say you get an extended mag and you're up to the 30ish rounds on a 9mm. You're not getting very far. You can put 120 rounds on a AR-15, no problem. Double side that. You're at 220.
It takes 4 seconds to reload a clip. Like you simply pop
Please
it out.
Don't call it a clip.
That you called it a clip makes me really think you don't know what you're talking about.
You call it a magazine, we'd be all right.
Fine. It does not take long to reload a magazine. Like if you've got like 3 more on your belt line, right?
It's not. Assault rifles are more.
The hell is wrong with the word clip? Walk me through this.
There is clip.
Okay, I'm going to do a little schooling for you for a second
yes.
here. Let the left-wing socialists.
Yes. Let the people on the left explain this to you.
Let me explain to you how guns work.
Sure.
So there are some guns that have clips. There's very few. Clips are essentially there's basically think like a vertical piece of metal, and you slide the base of like a centerfire bullet.
Do I have a what?
Nail gun.
No, but
do you know the concept how the nails are in the strip?
Yeah.
That's a clip.
That's a clip,
right?
You put the clip in and you slide the bullets into the actual.
If you're buying ammo in bulk for like assault rifle ammo, that sort of thing, it'll also sometimes just come to you like that.
Yeah. So that's sort of how a clip works. So you'll have things like an SKS and things like that will have a clip sort of mechanism, but most things are a magazine, which is usually a spring-loaded magazine.
Think of a slide versus a spring.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
So that's if you ever talk things in the world of like assault rifles or managing what guns to use and not use, if you start using words like clip versus magazines, the gun
here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't like going on forums and if somebody comments on our page, well, first of all, I'm thrilled we're getting comments.
Yes.
But second of all, like if it goes, oh, we should ban assault rifles. Actually, that's not an assault rifle. See, it's boo.
Yeah.
That's not the fucking point of the argument.
Yeah.
No one gives a fuck about your ammo fetish.
Yeah.
We don't care. Address the argument, not the pedantics of the fucking.
And if you
which is I know very hypocritical.
Yes,
of
it
us
is.
just now.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Yes.
Here's what I can tell you though. The one thing I was super proud of from the Prime Minister of New Zealand, she refused to use his name. I still do not know the name of this asshole, and I'm not interested in finding out.
That's his name.
There, okay, sure. Yeah, let's.
He comes from a long family of assholes.
Asshole McDickface.
Exactly. Like I don't know what his name is. I actually am proud to say.
No, it's actually McCock Muffin. Dickface was the maiden name.
There you go. Yeah,
his mother's name.
What I can tell you as well is that I could not tell you right now the name of the terrorist who shot up Parliament. I couldn't tell you the name of the person who shot up Sandy Hook Elementary School.
Is George Clinton okay?
What?
Sorry, Parliament. Okay, never mind.
Okay.
George Clinton.
Okay, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about terrorism. I'll try and take this seriously.
Swing and a miss, Tim. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, someone's laughing.
Yeah.
Someone out there, and to you, listener, who might be laughing. What's wrong with you? We're talking about terrorism.
Yeah, come on.
You're a bad person. You should feel bad.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, like, I'm glad that she didn't give him the press that he wanted. One thing I'm not happy about is the fact that one of the reasons this guy used the weapon he used, apparently, according to him, was that he wanted to set off a political discourse about gun control in the United States, and he wanted to polarize people and get people arguing with each other on Twitter and Facebook about gun control.
The other reason is he's from Australia, right?
Yeah.
The guns that he used were banned in Australia. He could not commit the same attack.
Oh, sure he could have. He would have bought the gun off the black market.
No, and this is my favorite.
You know how fucking hard it is.
Hold on a sec. Like, okay, no, I got this one. You got the clip. I'll get this one. Here's the thing, right? Okay, you buy it off the black market
tonight. All right.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So are things that you buy in the black market the same as what they cost at a fucking store?
It depends.
No, they're not. A fucking gun.
Yeah.
Like a weapon, something that is heavily
Do you know
banned
what a kidney cost, Mike?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
2 of those.
Hold on. How much could I get for my kids? What are you saying?
Well, hey, I'm telling you, kids, cheaper to sell them out by parts. It's like an old Jeep, man.
There it is. Yep. And that just got super dark. Yeah. So look, I can tell you that
what I'm saying,
if
though,
I
is
want
that
to buy a gun,
you can't just like, hey, I'm a mass murderer. I want to buy a fucking, first of all, a 30, 40,000, like, okay, so Jim Jeffries, I'll post the link to this, and I actually will. Jim Jeffries' gun control thing, check it out. He's Australian. He was talking about it. First of all, you can't, that same gun that was used at Parkland would cost over $30,000 on the black market in Australia. And here's the thing. If you're the kind of person who save up $30,000, chances are you're not the kind of guy who's going to go up and shoot up a mosque. Second of all, you got to have some, no one in their right mind is like, a black market dealer is going to sell some random. You can't just like roll up to the dog and say, hey, I need a gun. No, you got to have fucking connections and shit to make that shit happen.
Sure.
What they're doing is that this whole like, oh, only the bad guys will have guns. Well, if they've got $30,000, maybe. Even then, you have $30,000.
Also, if they have $30,000 in a gun, they're probably not going to be using it on a mosque. They're probably going to be using it for some sort of money to make that $30,000 they just spent on that asset.
What I can tell you is that right now, by this time next week, if I wanted to, I could get, and this is Canada, it's a handgun. I could get a handgun for $1,000.
And again, a handgun is different than an assault style rifle. And this thing, it's not an assault rifle.
Here's the
look at the ammunition.
So can we just use the phrase semi-automatic weapon? Because assault rifle, I agree, doesn't exist. There's no such thing. It's just something that looks scary. Call it a semi-automatic rifle. That's what it is.
It was a semi-automatic rifle that fired 5.56 millimeter ammunition, which is the same which is the NATO standard
we're getting into technical
that is used in assault weapons.
But I can go toe to toe on anything technical. That's not the problem.
That's not the problem. So I don't want to get let's not get mired down in the pedantics of what it is.
Here's the thing.
They're fucking weapons designed to kill people.
Okay, here's some interesting things. One, it was live streamed. That's fucked up.
That is really weird.
The right-wing radical export from the U.S. is a scary fucking thing.
Yeah.
And the third one.
Well, Australia's always had a streak like that, though.
So, but he references, and the way he referenced certain things, like to just drive that sort of attention is really messed up.
And the fact that we're giving even his ramblings attention now makes me
it makes me uncomfortable, but it's also one of those things you have to address. This is the
I don't think we give
I'm not giving him. I'm giving the issue of rising radicalism in the right.
Hold on. There's something that I was uncomfortable on the left as well. The video, the live stream that he did, don't get me wrong, disgusting, horrible, terrible, awful, but then if you're caught with that video, 14 years in jail? Come on, New Zealand. Really?
Different country, different rules.
I don't care. We're talking about
some countries view that no different than child porn.
it's
As a libertarian, is it okay to possess child porn?
As a libertarian, I think you're a shit, sick, awful human being if you do. But yeah, it's like.
Okay,
I
look,
think
obviously, okay.
I think that you need to go after.
In your defense, Mike, that was a gotcha, and I apologize because
And
that's
he's not. In fairness, he's not condoning it. He's saying the difference between owning it and distributing.
Exactly, producing it. I think that if you go after the producers,
let's
move on from child porn.
So another interesting thing that I thought was the NRA. The New Zealand NRA, which apparently exists, is looking at changing their name because they don't want to be associated with the American NRA. And the other thing is the day after this happened, they put out a public statement to ban semiotic rifles.
Well, and here's the
as
thing.
the National Rifle Association of New Zealand.
And here's the thing, right? I mean, I have little issue with heavily regulated handgun ownership.
yeah.
Emphasis, like in my perfect world, we'd all have the Japanese system. The Japanese system of owning a gun. Have you ever looked into this?
You know what's we've actually we've talked about this on the podcast. Which you know what's really fucking sad is that we've talked about this
more than once.
More than
I think
once.
it was after Vegas.
That's one of them.
This.
So here's
one
the
of
thing.
them.
That's the thing.
One of them.
New Zealand, the whole world shuts down. The prime minister they ban guns in 2 days. You know what they call it?
And the U.S. is like, are the guns okay? Please tell me the guns are okay.
The U.S. is like, this is what do they call it? What do they call a mass murderer that kills 56
Thursday.
People? It's like fucking Tuesday or Thursday. Like it's like I don't even like somebody gets
now is not the time for gun discussions. We are going to send thoughts and prayers.
That's right.
Let me show you the international signal for thoughts and prayers. Exactly what Tim's doing.
Yep.
And for the listeners, because this is an audio format, I'm making a wanking motion.
There. Yes, that's what Tim is doing.
It's the international sign for thoughts and prayers.
It's very dignified. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Thoughts and prayers. They keep like the.
It
was a comic that I saw.
change your Facebook profile picture.
Exactly. Yeah. Actually,
that'll make a difference.
One of the things that I thought was actually really clever about that, there was a comic that I saw some time ago. It was after the Sandy Hook thing, where there's like the gates of heaven and St. Peter's talking to an angel. It's just like they keep sending us the thoughts and prayers, and the guy's looking back at the gates, and there's all these kids walking in. And he goes, "Yeah, and they're kids."
Jesus.
Yeah. Like shit.
Here's the thing.
Well, and that's just it. It's like nothing. And Sandy Hook was the turning point in the U.S. I mean, if they will not do something about gun control after Sandy Hook,
Speaking of,
they won't do it.
But
did you guys see this?
Debate.
Did you guys
Hold
see
up,
this?
hold up.
Hold
The
on.
guns he used were already illegal in that area.
Doesn't fucking matter. The guns in Las Vegas were all legal.
Yeah, but
so here's the thing.
Gun control legislation doesn't work if it's not universally applied. Like Chicago bans handguns. Oh, they have so much violence. Well, yeah, because I can drive 20 minutes over to Indiana and get a handgun with a 24 pack of beer at the fucking liquor store.
See, but a part of that
sounds like a
problem,
good time. No,
a
it doesn't.
part of that problem is also that I can go to Toronto and get a handgun, but they're banned all over Canada.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, but here's the thing: if it's on the black market, fucking good luck you knowing
$1,000.
nothing about it. It's
$1,000.
Oh, you know a dealer in Toronto.
Yeah.
Okay, so you randomly.
All right.
Well,
Josh,
that's another story.
okay. I'll chip in half. I want to see that gun next podcast.
I don't have $1,000. Give me a
No,
grand.
I'm chipping in half. Josh, chip in half.
Chip in half for the.
Yeah.
I'm not buying.
Of course, CSIS is going. Hello.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, CSIS. How are you today? Yeah.
No, we're not buying illegal firearms.
No, we're not.
Yeah, it's
And
really.
guess where those guns are coming from? That makes
States.
my point.
Here's
the
the
fucking state.
here's the thing,
if
though.
gun control has to work uniformly.
Uniformly?
Here's the
Universally.
thing. There's another aspect. We're talking
Uniform
about all
applied.
about gun control, and the thing that I wanted to address is that I love that when this happened to a mosque in New Zealand called a spade, and they said no, this was a targeted attack against a group. This is a target against
It's
Muslims
terrorism.
specifically. This is terrorism.
This
wasn't-
against Muslims.
Yeah.
They use those words.
Yeah.
Terrorism by a right-wing extremist. And here's the thing. Like, you look at how many people have died from Muslim extremists in the U.S.
Yep.
since 9/11.
Not
How
that-
many have died from right-wing extremists?
But here's the
shit
thing.
ton more.
I don't really think that identifying right wing, left wing, because people are on the right or the
Well,
left.
no,
hang on. Hold
extremists.
up.
Extremists.
But then just use that word. I don't care if they're right wing or left wing. If they're extremists,
No, I
they're
care.
extremists.
You know why? Because you don't see too many communist guerrillas hanging out in the woods waiting to pounce and overthrow the government.
Into China
No.
lately?
Here, I do care.
In
I
the
do
US.
care identifying it because here's why. The arrest rate for left-wing extremists is high. The arrest rate for right-wing extremists is very low. The incident rate for actions to be completed or to be charged.
I'll sum this up. Call me when you see someone committing a drive-by act of terrorism, driving a Prius, blasting NPR. Then we'll talk about left-wing extremism.
I wonder if that actually happened. Well, Google that.
Violence is inherent in the system.
Exactly. Bang, 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 bang. Yeah.
I drive an electric car, sorry.
Exactly. Yeah.
Coming back to pick up the empties after so they don't get washed down.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thing. Like,
We only have one Earth, people. Exactly. We gotta pick up.
No, he wouldn't be using a vacuum because that would use electricity to be sweeping.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, call me when they're shooting up barbecue restaurants for not serving quinoa. Then we'll fucking talk.
Or having keto food, maybe.
Yeah. Paleo diet.
Exactly.
Oh, God. All right. So we only have about a minute here, guys.
So final thoughts.
Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers to New Zealand. I mean, I do feel awful for the people in New Zealand. I don't know exactly what the best solution is. I think
like they're doing it.
I think so too.
You know what? I think that what they're doing is better than doing nothing. I certainly think it's better than just simply trying to use the incident to divide the population of New Zealand and make it an election issue, because that is bullshit, because that's what the United States does all the time.
Yep.
I do feel like, and my proudest thing that I can say about New Zealand is that they're not using his name. They're giving him zero press.
I think that's great.
I'm not necessarily comfortable with them banning the video and threatening people with over a decade of jail time for possessing the video.
For me, that's a red herring.
But like to me, that's more of a government being
country,
like, you know, well, I don't know. It sounds a bit big brothery to me. But to me, the fact that they're treating this the way that they are, I actually think they're doing it much more classily than, say, America would.
I think it's the difference between a society that's stable and somewhat mature versus one that's completely fallen off the rails.
And
It's comparable to the way that we treated our own terror. Like when we had somebody shoot up Parliament, it was fine. I mean, like,
People were concerned about his
fine.
well-being.
Yeah.
Legit. Like this guy lost his.
yeah,
well, I think,
lost his mind.
I think, you know, kind of my final thought here. If you haven't read about this, please read about this. This is there was a shooting at an Amish schoolhouse a long time ago, not even that long ago.
And the Amish forgave him.
The Amish forgave him, like, just because the way the Amish looked at the shooting is not that we are victims. They looked at we have as a society have failed.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, if New Zealand is looking at it from that perspective, that somewhere we as a society have failed, I think that's the takeaway. And if you're not thoroughly depressed, listeners, we have come to the end of our show.
Throw a pie somewhere.
Yep. Please throw a pie. Anyway, I want to thank Matt Ebel,
For
our
Pie Day.
contributing writer and editor.
Or an egg.
Or an egg. Yes.
Especially racist Australian senators.
All right. And if you're enjoying the show, make sure you check us out on Facebook or Twitter, or go to our website, twoandchange.ca. Make sure you're also continuing to listen to our show on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, wherever you get your podcasts.
Also,
anyway,
sorry about our hangover last week. Sorry about our hangover last week. We didn't have it in us.
We were hungover.
It was St. Patty's Day was fantastic. But we didn't get an episode out to you last week. But that's okay.
But we did get to talk about Justin Trudeau's socks again,
which
did. Are thoroughly soaked in hot water. Anyway,
they are.
Change. I'm Tim.
I'm Josh.
I'm Mike.
We'll see you next time.
His socks are extremely hot right now. Yeah, I don't know.
It's like we talked about it.
Ironically, we talked about socks. I went on Amazon after that because I saw it, and then I realized.
Are you kidding? You can buy those.
No.
Oh.
I bought. I bought fancy
Not
socks because I don't think I put two and two together, and then I was thinking of this now. I'm like, the sock thing. That's where I got the idea to buy crazy socks. I don't really go on Amazon and buy crazy socks. No, I know. It's not.